What's up, people? Good afternoon. It's been a fairly active few hours for the Seahawks and, well, every team in the NFL. So let's go ahead and round up the action of the last several hours. Again, it's mostly practice squad stuff, not necessarily the kinds of things that are going to have a drastic impact on the team, but these are guys who have a real chance of playing for the Seahawks at some point this season. I would say that you're going to see most guys on our practice squad at least active a couple times this year. And in the event of a more serious injury, these guys are going to be kind of the first guys you call up because they don't cost very much money and they're familiar with your team, scheme, and system. So they're kind of the next men up often. So let's start with some practice squad stuff. I already talked about Levi Bell and Aesop Winston Jr. Both those guys are on the practice squad officially. The new additions in the last several hours include Ty Okada, the safety. When Joey Blunt was put on the injured reserve, I kind of felt like Ty Okada had a pretty good chance to make the PS because of that. So he indeed does. So I didn't notice him a ton in the preseason, but we'll see how it pans out there. Patrick O'Connell also signed to the practice squad. Linebacker who played quite a bit in the preseason and had some bad moments, but also kind of got better as the preseason went on. By the end of the preseason, I felt okay about him, and I thought he had a chance at the PS. But yeah, he officially does indeed make it. We also have this from the man himself, Matthew Gotel, that seems pretty... This seems relatively official here. It's coming from him, the guy himself, Matthew Gotel, on the Seahawks practice squad. A couple other people have already talked about how this is indeed what this means. He is on the PS. So don't be surprised if he's pretty quickly activated for the first couple games because we need a nose tackle. So my understanding is that every player has 2 activations they can utilize from the practice squad without being added to the 53-man roster. So don't be surprised if we're using it on Gotel pretty quickly here because we need another nose tackle. Because I don't love the odds of Cam Young being ready to play week 1 at this point. However, one thing I should say, as far as I know, as of 3 o'clock, we have not added anybody to the short-term IR yet, including Derek Young, including Mike Morris, including Cam Young. So that may be a positive sign for those guys maybe being able to play quicker than we think. Again, that first game, you can kind of take it a little bit easy. It's the Rams at home. You should be able to win that game even without all your horses, but after that, it gets tougher. So we'll see, but it at least seems like a possibility that those guys aren't going to go on short-term IR because they've been eligible to for a couple hours now, and it hasn't happened yet. Tyler Mabry re-signed to the practice squad. Death taxes and Tyler Mabry on the Seahawks practice squad, I guess. He seems like he's always there. So Tyler Mabry back in action as a member of the practice squad, and he's already been called up a couple times over the last couple years when we had tight end injuries. So we may very well be seeing him again. And the last guy that I've heard of being added to the practice squad as of right now. So we don't have anywhere near a full practice squad yet. We're talking about I think we got 7 guys right now. Holton Aylers, apparently it's Aylers is how you pronounce it, has been added to the practice squad. So we actually did decide to roll with it, which I like it for practice purposes because he provides something unique and interesting to throw at the defense. But if we're talking about him actually playing in an NFL game, I don't know about that. Like that arm in the NFL against NFL quality starting defenders, ooh boy. But for practice squad purposes, yeah, I think it'll be good. But welcome Holton. And that's it for the practice squad stuff. Now we just have a little bit of roster news. To make room for the 2 guys we claimed off waivers, you've got Artie Burns getting released for Q Blue Kelly. So we clear out our cornerback to make room for another cornerback, which makes sense. Again, we didn't need 7 cornerbacks. So that is how we're clearing space. But as Condota points out here, his salary would have been guaranteed for the whole year because he was a veteran if he was on the roster week 1. So this may be a scenario where we release him and we bring him back after week 1, so that way his contract is not fully guaranteed. So if I had to guess, I would say that if we don't like what we have in the first couple weeks, we're probably going to look to bring Artie back. But again, we don't need 7 cornerbacks plus Julian Love. We just don't. So could go either way there. I think it kind of depends. What if this Mike Jackson thing ends up being a ongoing problem where he just isn't playing well for some mysterious reason after being a star in training camp and playing well last year? Maybe then you go, okay, well, we got to get rid of him. Whatever. I don't know what's going on there, but we can't mess with it right now. So let's bring in a guy who's a veteran, proven. We know he's going to be okay in Artie Burns. So look for something like that to happen. Doesn't seem like there's a big market out there for Artie because he is a veteran and would command a little more money than the true low level. But yeah, that's what we're looking at right now with Mr. Artie Burns. Also getting waived is John Rhattigan to clear space for Drake Thomas. I kind of expected that. Again, we did not need 5 inside linebackers and Nick Bellore. That's too much. We did not need all that at the inside linebacker spot. So just kind of common sense here. Rhattigan, I know he did some decent stuff in the preseason, but it wasn't anything over the top. I don't know if I would even call his body of work in the preseason good. It was decent. It was passable, workable. But at the end of the day, I look at Rhattigan and I see a guy who just has a very low ceiling because of his change of direction skills. So I think we probably got a little bit better there. Not in any super noticeable way, but I do think Drake Thomas, he has, at the very least, he's young, right? He's younger than John Rhattigan, so there's potentially a little bit of upside that hasn't been tapped into yet. We also gave Jonathan Sutherland a settlement. So that means he is not going to revert to our injured reserve list. It was already said elsewhere that Jones, Vi Jones, and Joey Blunt have reverted to our injured reserve list, so they're still Seahawks, but they're just going to be out for the rest of the season. But we decided to do a settlement with Jonathan Sutherland, so he's free. We might bring him back later. Condota tweets about that over here. Could return as a free agent signing down the road, but he's not going to revert to our injured reserve list. So we don't know exactly what the settlement was, but it obviously wasn't hugely consequential. So yeah, that's the situation right now with this roster. Blunt and Jones did make it to our IR, but Sutherland is going to be... I don't really know what happens here. I assume he just sits out the year and waits to get healthy, and then once he's healthy, he tries to find a home somewhere. All right, so that's the latest. We still got, I believe, 9 practice squad spots to fill. A few people have theorized that we're going to end up making our entire practice squad out of players that we had and released, because none of the guys we had released got claimed off waivers. So if we can put them on the practice squad, I mean, if we want to put them on the practice squad, we can. All right, I will see you guys later. Maybe we'll fill out some more practice squad spots by the end of the day, but roster is taking shape in full here. So Burns and Rhattigan out to make room, and 7 of 16 practice squad spots filled, I believe.